The Out of Bounds Show podcast is powered by the DeWalt tools at Ace Bolt and Screw. Visit acebolt.net for a location near you.
WRKS Pickens Jackson.
All systems go.
Live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the Bank Plus studio.
This is now awarded.
Live in the studio. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Streaming live worldwide on the Out of Bounds radio app. And on your radio at ESPN 105.9.
All set? Let's go.
The Zone.
And good morning. What's happening? Welcome in. We got about 3 hours, right? Come on in, grab a chair, hang out with us for a little while. The Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, WRKS. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app and thezone1059.com. Good morning, good morning. Hope you had a good weekend. And we're live in the Bank Plus studio. I've got Blake Mania with me. I am your host, Bo Bounds. And, man, do we have some delicious topics today to hit, both in the state of Mississippi. It's a big week for number 8, Elijah Moore, who will become a multimillionaire. We had some SEC baseball that we'll recap. Holy Mary Zab. And then the Grove Bowl. And, of course, your NFL draft on Thursday night. Thursday night, NFL draft. Little steak, little cold beer. See what happens with all these crazy teams. Picking players and quarterbacks. I've got my eye on the Dallas Cowboys. I fully expect Steven and Jerry Jones to screw it up. So that's what I'll do for the next 4 days. We need Penei Sewell, who's an offensive lineman, or Kyle Pitts, who's a tight end from the Florida Gators. But, yeah, I expect Jerry and Stephen Jones to screw that up as they have for the better part of 25 years. All right, I'm going to get on a more positive place. The show is powered by the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook and award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. Beautiful weekend. Hope you enjoyed it. We did. Man, got some crawfish from mud bugs. Did a number of things. Ate out a couple of times, but got on the boat. It was wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful weather and weekend. So, interesting what happened in Oxford over the weekend. A couple of things. Ole Miss loses 2 of 3. You know, they mounted an amazing comeback on Saturday, and they were down 9-1. And they hit 2 bombs in the 8th and a bomb in the 9th and got the walk-off and I guess somewhat salvaged the weekend against an LSU team that was kind of there, you know, it was for the taking, all right, considering what LSU has been the better part of 30-plus, 35-plus years. And so it was disappointing on the diamond, but they won a game. What can they do with that? You know, we'll see. They've got a good South Carolina team coming in. They're not elite, but they're good. So they've got some players. They're always going to have players. Golly, I don't know what we've always asked this question. What is it about that area of the country, South Carolina, North Carolina, that one produces so many players and 2 produces so many great, really good coaches? But there's something in the water over there, and it's a good style of baseball. And the only thing I can guess is, years ago, guys here and there started some good youth programs, and, you know, they've cashed in and so on. But Ole Miss will host South Carolina this weekend. You know, when Derek Diamond gives you a good performance on Thursday, and Nikhazy went 107 pitches on Friday, but, you know, you lose there. And then the game was wild on Saturday, but you did enough. I mean, LSU fell asleep at the wheel, yanked a couple out of the ballpark, put yourself in position, 1-pitch walk-off in the 9th, you win. Still, you lose the series. You got a 2 or 3 minimum, but probably looking for a sweep this weekend for Ole Miss. Mississippi State, interesting weekend. that Saturday game was huge. Bednar was phenomenal. McLeod actually was good early for several innings. He eventually lost control a little bit and left a couple out there. But Bednar was, considering he didn't look good against Ole Miss,
best game of his career, right?
Yeah, Bednar was money. And Leiter, the interesting part of Leiter is Rowdy jumps on him early. I think that kind of woke him up. He was like, whoa, I'm not just going to mow people down. And then, they continued to add to it. But I really thought Rowdy set the tone with the homer on Saturday. And then Sunday you jump out to a lead and then you don't hit again. I mean, you can't do that on Sunday against a Vanderbilt team that can, that can flat out barrel it up and hit the baseball. So a couple of guys struggled out. First of all, walks and errors against a Vanderbilt team like that, the way that they are put together and how elite they are, their talent. Walks and errors are not going to be a good recipe on a Sunday to give you an opportunity to win. So, but you got one. It is a good thing that they didn't get the broom out on you.
And that one win moved you up 4 spots in the RPI, for what it's worth.
Well, that's good.
That's very good.
That's good. So there you go. But so that's a little recap on the weekend with Hail State and Ole Miss baseball. Then you had the Grove Bowl. We've been talking about Matt Corral for a while. He's grown up. He's got all this talent. He's really, really ridiculous as far as athletic ability, but he's also super accurate. I mean, he's not, we all know that. He's not a running QB, so to speak, although he can go get 15 or 20 from you if he, if the opportunity presents itself, depending on what the secondary is doing against him and so on. But, the guy proved last year that he and Kiffin and Levy are a wonderful match. And we knew he'd be fantastic on Saturday in the Grove Bowl. Here's the issue. Ole Miss doesn't have a backup quarterback. Your backup quarterback was wearing a baseball uniform over the weekend. Sorry, I was right again. I'm always reminded when I'm wrong. It's all good. That's what we're here to do, have opinions. And John Rice Plumlee would start at any number of SEC teams, and good grief, what he would do in the Big 12 and the ACC and the Pac-12. But you don't have a backup quarterback, so if Matt Corral takes a shot and has to sit a game or two, it's John Rice Plumlee. That's what it is. So here's what will be interesting to me if Kiffin and Levy pivot again, because they've been re-recruiting him to go the slot, in which that may he could be good there. Will he go back to QB? He made those catches in the second half of the Outback Bowl where people thought, oh, there's a lot of promise here. Now, Indiana's not SEC DBs and safeties. And they had a nice team, but they weren't special by any stretch of the imagination. But again, the way that Kiffin and Levy dial this thing up, maybe he'll find himself open all the time either way. However, who's going to be the backup quarterback? Because it's not Dent or Luke Altmaier right now.
No, the two combined for 43 yards, a touchdown, and 3 interceptions on Saturday.
That's against a split roster of not heavyweights. I mean, Ole Miss has some players, but it's not like it's a ferocious secondary.
Especially once you split them up.
All right?
Yeah.
And so the question is, who is going to be the backup quarterback, and how do you divide the reps for John Rice Plumlee between slot and quarterback, just in case Corral takes a shot and has to miss a game?
Especially when he's not taking any reps all spring. That kind of makes you a little nervous, doesn't it?
True.
Ole Miss might have the best quarterback and the shallowest quarterback room in the conference.
I don't think you can say May. They do have the best quarterback in the Southeastern Conference. But, I mean, he's better than JT Daniels. Come on. I mean, that's not a debate. No. It's definitely not a debate. The show is brought to you by award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club and the Golden Moon Casino. Welcome in. Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line, 601-707-3750. Twitter handle, @BoBounds. Big board. Coming up. The Out of Bounds Show podcast is brought to you by Boar's Head. Premium meats, cheeses, and hummus. Boar's Head. Compromise elsewhere.
Board. What's on the big board?
Hey. Good morning. Welcome in. Your Mississippi Ag John Deere Tractor text line, 601-885-3776. Would love to hear from you today on any number of topics or crazy stuff that we could get into on the Out of Bounds Show. 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. I do want to thank you for Blake and I would like. Blake spends a lot of time on it. Our podcast was absolute fire last week.
Yes, sir.
And I want to thank you for, we can see the numbers throughout the day. And not only are y'all smashing the podcast during the day, but at night. And thanks for going to Apple Podcast, searching the Out of Bounds Show. We're also on Spotify and Podbean. And, we changed the game last June. And the platform that we went with Podbean, which I should have done years ago, but Blake got all that done. And, hey, numbers are off the charts. And our digital...
It ain't bragging if you can back it up.
Well, our digital numbers continue to grow on the Out of Bounds radio app and on the podcast. So thank you for doing that. It was a great weekend on the podcast. Saturday and Sunday were really, really good numbers. So whether you're walking, jogging, driving, whatever you're doing, thanks for hitting the Out of Bounds podcast on Apple Podcasts. Search the Out of Bounds Show.
It is remarkable, the explosion of the podcast realm.
Yes, it is.
We talk.
I'm on a podcast today with two guys,
and they don't air it anywhere else but podcasts, right? That part. See, we are not that unique in that, like, radio has existed forever. And so, like, just recording that segment you did on radio and then having it for later in and of itself is not innovative.
Right.
But the fact that we have a whole new market now where people can literally host a show that only exists in the ether sphere, right? It's just on the internet, and you got to go find it. I mean, the fact that market has become as big as it is crazy.
It's beautiful. I love it. I love being on a 50,000 watt FM because you still have to broadcast.
Yep.
Unless you're Bill Simmons or something. And then I love having the podcast, like you said, on Podbean and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Hail State and Ole Miss lose 2 of 3 over the weekend. Hail State had an amazing performance from Will Bednar, and they got all over Leiter from Vanderbilt. So that was a big win. Ole Miss left for dead, 9-1, 2 bombs in the 8th, a bomb in the 9th on Saturday, and they walk off the 3rd game, so they lose 2 of 3 to LSU. This weekend series, both at home.
Yep.
A&M at Mississippi State, huge. Got to get 2 of 3. You'd love a sweep. Mississippi, Ole Miss hosting South Carolina, got to get 2 of 3. Need a sweep as we march on to the regional deadline. How about that? Regional, super regional, national seed, all that.
If you lose this one, Ole Miss, you're not hosting a regional. That'll be 5. They've lost 5 straight series. You can't lose 6. Like, that's the problem, is that baseball, as much as we like wins and losses, they really like series wins. And that's going to get you in trouble.
Oh.
Can I ask you this question? Did LSU come out of this weekend, even though they won 2 out of 3, looking worse under Pulmonary because of the way you lost the 3rd game?
You could argue he mismanaged his bullpen too. I mean, I guess we could argue that with so many coaches over the weekend. It's Monday morning quarterbacking. Yeah. That's not a good baseball team. They have talent, though. They're still capable of putting some things together and winning some games, but they're definitely not, special by any stretch in any phase of the game. So it's not LSU of what we remember the last, forever.
Yeah.
Mel Kiper Jr. said that Elijah Moore is his favorite wide receiver. Is that right?
That's what the Sports Centers said. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. How about that?
I think probably because there's a little bit of unknown in terms of what he could develop into, like, complete game in the NFL. And then he's not being heralded in that top, right? Like, we always have the guys who get talked about as the top guys in their respective position, and he's not being talked about that way, even though he maybe has the ability to be that.
And John Ledyard, also with PewterReport.com, loves him.
He'll be on Wednesday at 9:30.
Okay. All right, John Ledyard, who's an NFL draft insider, dropped his tweet over the weekend, and he has Elijah Moore at number 4.
On his receiver rankings?
Yes.
That's
you
pretty,
saw that, right?
Yeah, that's pretty high.
So,
I mean, this receiver, we're walking into a whole new era of pass catchers.
Thank goodness.
Where every team may have 3 legitimate top-end receivers moving forward. Or you need to be successful, right?
yeah, you do. You're right. You it's almost 4 deep, Blake, on some teams.
Marcus Mosher has said that, who also will be on Wednesday at 7:30. Heavy NFL draft this week. He has said that before. He said, if I'm a GM, I'm having 4 legitimate receivers. Because that's the way you win in today's game.
Yeah.
Look at Kansas City.
Look at Dallas.
Yeah.
Now that Cedric Wilson,
Yes.
now that he has emerged as a target, Dak has 4.
Yeah. I mean, that's the
I'd
new
still
age.
go get Kyle Pitts, but Dak has 4.
Yeah.
And I know we're referencing receivers. That's different than Jarwin and the other dude, but Dalton. But they're not. They're nice players. They're not special.
No.
They don't keep defensive coordinators up at night
No.
that are playing the Dallas Cowboys. Although they're capable of making a play on Sunday, it's not like what we're referencing with. You're referencing like a Kelsey at Kansas City,
Yeah.
or what a Kyle Pitts from Florida
Could
will
be,
be for another team.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you dropped Kyle Pitts on Sean Payton's New Orleans Saints?
People would forget who Jimmy Graham was.
Yes, they would. Like in 5 minutes.
I mean, I hate to say that.
It'd take
It's not
you-
a shot at Jimmy, but like,
One a beat a beer in the quarter, and you would forget about Jimmy
be
Graham.
like, Jimmy who?
Oh my gosh!
Wasn't he a basketball player?
Hey,
Yeah.
all right. I want to go to the Mississippi Ag text line because San Antonio Jeremy is cracking me up today. He's one of our better texters. And the Mississippi Ag text line is 601-885-3776. And San Antonio Jeremy says, well, Bo, I've heard that it's not that hard to go to Omaha.
It is not super hard to get to Omaha.
Wow. I was referencing Ole Miss and Mississippi State just a couple of minutes ago. And San Antonio Jeremy decided to come in hot on a Monday. That was some shots fired.
Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, Ole Miss, they got to go get 2 minimum, but 3 would make it all better on Sunday.
You're not sweeping South Carolina. If you didn't sweep LSU at home, unless some magic switch
let's frame it
flipped,
up. It will be extremely difficult
yeah, unless some magic
to
switch flipped.
sweep South Carolina.
South Carolina's better than Auburn. They're better than Alabama. They're like any of the teams that you've already beat. South Carolina's much better than they're probably right sub-sect below Ole Miss and State.
Yeah.
When you kind of tiered them out, it'd be a half a step behind.
Not much, but a little bit.
But right now, you'd argue they're playing better than Ole Miss is. So, I mean, that Ole Miss has lost 5 straight series. South Carolina has not. They lost series to number 1 Arkansas, but they've been dealing before that.
Oh,
So
okay.
they're 3rd in the East, I think, something like that. So
Okay.
they're not playing poorly at all.
I can't wait to see what happens the next 2 weeks. Holy smokes.
Anxiety levels through the roof. But look, State fans aren't happy because I think if you ask Mississippi State fans on Thursday, hey, you guys can go to Nashville and come back with 1 win, most would take it, right?
Yes.
But when you beat Lighter and then you're up 4-0,
you want more.
You
always want more.
Yep.
I mean,
now all of
it's
a sudden
human nature.
Now all of a sudden it's like an unsuccessful trip.
Yeah.
Because you didn't win Sunday.
Yes.
So interesting to me.
I know it. I love it. Fandom. Ole Miss does not have a backup quarterback. So what will they do with John Rice Plumlee? I mean, does he split reps in August? Between slot receiver and quarterback? And Matt Corral was fantastic. That didn't surprise me. He's throwing against, a split roster or whatever. He could do that in his sleep. But you don't have a guy right now. In fact, I think Kiffin's going to the transfer portal after Corral. Because, I mean, he's got the juice, the sauce, and the name to do that. The 2022 starting quarterback is not on the roster right now. Live in the Bank Plus studio. SEC Insider Hit coming up next. Welcome into the Out of Bounds Show on a Monday. The Out of Bounds Show podcast is presented by Edwin Watts Golf Shop on County Line Road. Your golf game starts with Edwin Watts Golf Shop.
Everyone ready?
This is the SEC Insider Hit. Presented by your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Go local. Go with a home team.
Oh, good morning. Welcome in. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. We'll have Tom Luganbill at 8:30. Steve Robertson will stop by at some point during the show. We're figuring that out. Tom Luganbill on the NFL draft, SEC football, SEC players. Luganbill at 8:30 today on the Modelo guest line. Looking forward to that. This is our SEC Insider Hit. We have several things to hit over the next 22 minutes. No commercial. 7:30, 8:30, 9:30 every morning. 22, 23-minute segment. Commercial free. Basically 3 podcasts that we've dropped in the show. What is that? Almost 70 minutes of commercial-free content. The SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Hit favorites.com. Bundle your auto and home. Save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. The Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line, if you have some thoughts on what we're discussing, 601-707-3750. Again, presented by favorites.com. That's F-A-V-E. Favorites.com. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. All right, again, Mississippi State gets one at Vandy over Leiter, of all guys.
First career college loss for Jack Leiter, by the way.
Jack Leiter, Al Leiter's son. Huh. Man, Vandy, that scholarship deal is just unbelievable for them, isn't it?
Did you see the guy in the stand? There was a Vanderbilt fan in the stands holding a sign that said 11.7.
Did he really?
It's incredible.
They don't give a damn. No. I mean, look, they don't have a shot in football.
Speaking of which,
Corbin figured out a formula with being a private school through their endowment and so on that they could use. More power to them.
Yeah. Did you see the football players at the games?
Yeah, I saw them on the dugout.
They're having a little fun.
I thought that may have been a little too much. I would be surprised. Now, the SEC may let Vandy kind of do what they want since they get smoked in football to the degree that they do. I mean, they went 0-10 last year, Blake, okay? Or 0-9. They may have had a forfeit, but not a forfeit, a COVID, whatever. But they didn't win a game. They either went 0-9 or 0-10 in Derek Mason's last year. But the SEC may look the other way, but I'm not sure that you want to set that precedent of
kind of rowdiness.
I just don't know if you want that many people on a dugout.
I'll be real honest. I'd rather have the entire...
In fact, I don't think that's
quote unquote
allowed.
Yeah. They mentioned
but I don't know if it's in quote unquote black and white writing.
Correct. It's kind of an understood rule. Here's the thing. I would let them put their entire football, basketball, and men's and women's every sport in their entire school can stand on top of the dugouts and scream and holler and say whatever they want if they get rid of the whistler. They can have carte blanche. Yeah. They can put them all on the field.
The fact that they haven't addressed that is unfortunate. That guy's a loser.
Yeah.
When you make the game about you like that, for our listeners, there's this guy that whistles every pitch for Vanderbilt baseball.
Yeah.
And he's obnoxious. But there were a few, he thinks he's a celebrity, I guess. Mm-hmm. It's kind of his more than 15 minutes of fame. But he drives people crazy. Now, the SEC baseball tournament means nothing today. I mean, boy, 15 years ago, we got all hot and bothered about this thing. And I used to go to, and it was fun. I don't know how much money it would take for me to go to Hoover in 6 weeks or whatever. But
it's so hot, too. Oh, my God.
It'd be a lot. I can't get into that anymore. Now, background music on our TV Wednesday through Sunday that week or Tuesday through Sunday that week. That's kind of cool and fun. Mm-hmm. But this thing now for State and Ole Miss and LSU, well, usually LSU, Arkansas, Vandy, among other teams. This thing's all about postseason, and the SEC baseball tournament is garbage, and it's all about regionals, super regionals, and of course the College World Series in Omaha. NFL draft Thursday. All right, so first round is Thursday night. What will your New Orleans Saints do? I don't know. Oh, better yet, what will your rival do at number 4? Your Atlanta Falcons. Tampa Bay. They just won the Super Bowl, Bo. Come on. Atlanta is sitting there at number 4. Now Blake drops this on me when I walk in this morning. Atlanta is listening to offers for former Alabama Crimson Tide wide receiver who has had an amazing career, Julio Jones. Now, Atlanta is not only listening to that, which I think they may be sending out some signals there, but they have the number 4 pick. So what are they going to do? Are they going to trade out of it? Or are they going to stay there and get Kyle Pitts, who is, this transcendent talent out of Florida, tight end / wide receiver, and just ridiculous. If you watch the Florida Gators this year, good grief. The guy was amazing. Do they go ahead and get Matt Ryan's replacement? That makes no sense to me. NFL is a win-now league, and you can flip your roster in 1 year, and all of a sudden you can go from 6-10 to 9-7 or 10-6 and in the playoffs. It happens in this league. So what will Atlanta do it for? And then our Dallas Cowboys with Dak Prescott. Will Jerry and Stephen Jones, screw this up? I think they will. But I'm hoping that y'all are tweeting to me on Thursday night and they don't screw it up.
They got it right last year. I think they drafted right last year.
Well, CeeDee Lamb.
That's what I'm saying. So they broke away from their norm, which is take position of need.
Right.
And they took best player available.
Right.
If they do that again this year, you feel better.
Okay.
If they don't, if they revert back to, hey, we're at 10, we're going to pick a cornerback or
if they
an edge
pick
rusher.
A corner, it's a waste of time.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Yeah.
So, and they definitely can't pick that Georgia linebacker. You don't pick a linebacker this day and age in the first round. I mean, it's you don't pick Jonathan Abram in where the Raiders picked him. You just don't. And I love Jonathan Abram, and I hope he makes a ton of money. But that's where we are with the NFL draft. Now, Mississippi Ag John Deere Tractor text line 601-885-3776. So we'll keep an eye on all sorts of teams, right? What's going to happen at 4, which then what happens at 5, 6, right? And will the Broncos or the Patriots or someone else move up? Will Bill Belichick find a way to move from 15? I don't know. Will John Elway and the Broncos find a way to move up? We'll see. Either way, you're going to overdraft a QB, but it's kind of what you have to do this day and age. Will Mac Jones go number 3?
No.
I don't think so, to the San Francisco 49ers. Surely John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan aren't going to do that. They didn't move all these assets and draft capital to go get Mac Jones or anybody from any blue blood program.
Just to get a guy whose ceiling might only be what the guy you're moving off of is.
Yeah.
Tell me the difference.
Is he even close to Jimmy Garoppolo?
That's my question. Are you really upgrading?
I would say probably no, but maybe.
Ian Rappaport tweeting out this morning. Now, remember, we've talked about this for like 3 weeks. Everybody was sold 2 weeks. 49ers are drafting Mac Jones. Write it in cement. It's done. It's over. You just book it. Well, this morning, Ian Rappaport tweets out, 49ers have narrowed their decision-making to Mac Jones and Trey Lance. Well, hold up now. I thought it was a done deal. It was Mac Jones. Now we're saying it's 2 guys?
Right.
The point is it was never Mac Jones. It was never Mac Jones. It's going to be Trey Lance or Justin Fields. Book it.
Trey Lance or Justin Fields because they have more mobility in what Kyle Shanahan wants to do. All right.
Steve Palazzolo said Justin Fields is the best combination of all those skills that you want. So we'll see if they take Fields or Lance.
Donnie has a question. Donnie in Clinton. Shout out to everybody in Clinton listening to the show. On the Mississippi Ag text line, guys, if Patrick Surtain is there for the Cowboys at number 10, you don't think he's the best pick for them? I don't. He's not a bad pick, but I don't think he's the best pick for the Dallas Cowboys at 10. So, we'll see. Another story, speaking of, over the weekend that I have to share with you. Every week we talk about coaches, the good ones and the ones who struggle for whatever reason as head coaches. And so I don't know how many times over the years I've dropped the name like Johnny Vaught, Ron Polk, those type guys. And then we've had some guys come in that have had a lot of success, but not the longevity is never going to be there for the most part of those guys, other than Mike Bianco, who's in his 20th year, 2021, somewhere in there. In baseball you can do that, but we talk a lot about Boo Ferris and Delta State baseball, which has a national championship. 2004, they won the national title. And over the weekend, Delta State retired Mike Kinnison's jersey number. And Delta State baseball is huge in this state, and they have produced an enormous amount of talent. And, of course, Coach Kinnison is tied to Boo Ferris. Why? Because Coach Ferris in 1973 went and spoke at his senior year athletic banquet at Benton Academy. And Kinnison is a remarkable story because on this show and on every show, I think people talk about perseverance and overcoming adversity and all the different things that happen to all of us in all walks of life. Okay, so Kinnison won a natty, a national championship at Delta State.
It's incredible.
It is. You have to go to the College World Series at D2 also. Also, you have to go through, they are in the SEC of D2. They have to go through those Florida schools like Tampa and several others that produce an enormous amount of Major League Baseball talent. Yes, Tampa at times has had 9 players drafted. Because of regions, Delta State has to run the gauntlet of all gauntlets. All right? And so we've talked about the late, great Boo Ferris on the show. He played at Mississippi State, played for the Boston Red Sox, and built a monster at Delta State. Still not sure how he did it. It's an amazing story. But let me tell you about Kinnison as we all think about what we go through. Now, Kinnison had to go to junior college out of Benton Academy. And then he got a tryout once he goes to Delta State. And guess what? He's cut. Mike Kinnison was cut at Delta State by Boo Ferris. And so he's cut. A lot of men, women, whatever, you're cut, you're done. You just decide, all right, I'm going to grind out a degree and go get in sales or be a coach or whatever it is you're going to do in life. Kinnison said, all right, he was devastated. This article by Rick Cleveland is amazing that he dropped over the weekend. It was kind of a reprint, but combo type deal on MississippiToday.org. And he's talking about Kinnison having his jersey retired, his number retired on Saturday at Delta State. And now Mike Kinnison's the athletic director. He is, he had a great run as a head coach. Now he's the AD at Delta State. But after he was cut, he was devastated and down in the dumps. We've all been there. Coach Ferris, a week later, found him on campus and offered him a student manager position. And he was like, I didn't really want to take that. I didn't want to be the student manager for a team that I thought I should be on. Well, guess what he got to do? Well, and he thought about it, and he said, well, I have to have a job to pay for some school because he didn't have a lot of money. And he decides to take it, but he didn't really want it. And he gets to wash the uniforms of the players where he was just trying out a few weeks before. All right. So then the next summer, he goes and plays summer league ball in Greenwood, and he's a late bloomer. And he starts working out like crazy, and he has a monster summer league. And word gets back to Coach Ferris. And so then and there, Coach Ferris decides he's going to be on my team. He parlayed that into what? All-American shortstop at Delta State. All-American. This is an incredible story. All right. And then a lot of you know Mike Kinnison from his Jackson Prep days. So this guy's off the charts intense. I've had players tell me who absolutely adore and love him that you survived Mike Kinnison. That's what they said. I mean, he was too much for prep. All right. And then he went to Madison Central. And then Coach Marchant takes over for Boo Ferris, has that terrible accident, is paralyzed from the chest down. And Kinnison comes in as the number one assistant and bridges the gap for a couple of years at Delta State. And, boom, eventually becomes the head coach in the 90s. He goes to 6 College World Series appearances and won a national championship. And it is an unbelievable story about perseverance. And then he goes on to lead Delta State. Boo Ferris was an amazing coach, but they came up a little short with the national championship. And Kinnison was able to lead them to that promised land and that big banner and that national championship in 2004. It is an amazing story. Do you realize that he won 981 games and lost 313?
That's what I was about to say. He's got a career winning percentage at Delta State of 756.
42 and a half victories per season.
That's pretty remarkable.
42 and so this is a guy who was cut by Coach Ferris, comes back, becomes an All-American. A little bit of his coaching career at the high school level was rocky because he's so intense. And then he works his way back to Delta State, takes over, and takes the program to another level that had already been set by Coach Ferris and Marchant. It's a remarkable story. And his number was retired by Delta State over the weekend. Delta State beat Ole Miss 13-4 in 1999. And rumor has it that Coach Kinnison after the game said, well, they won't be coming back. They didn't play again.
Yeah.
And by the way, that team, Ole Miss had some good players on that team, Jamie Price among others. So Delta State used to play Mississippi State and Ole Miss and win at times midweek.
That's a very Jordan-esque story. Of being cut and then coming back and being successful, like you said. 9-time Coach of the Year.
9-time Coach of the Year. Here's what one of his former players told me over the weekend. I asked him, I said, why was Coach Kinnison so successful? Why the 6 College World Series appearances? Why the national championship? And he said, 1, passion, 2, attention to detail, and 3, the chip on his shoulder from what had happened to him years before. He carried that with him, right? Nobody wanted him out of high school. And then he got cut. And so he was the guy that got cut and still is forever and ever. There are some people who believe he's the best coach to ever coach in the state, regardless of sport.
I'm not, interesting question, yeah.
And believe me, he is in the discussion.
Oh, well, you don't have a 756 win percentage and not be in the discussion.
And I don't know what it is about the air or the water up there, and I've asked this question for years because they've done it in swimming, in women's basketball. They've done it in men's football where they won a natty too, baseball and so on, among other sports. There's something up there in that small, sleepy Delta town where they win and win big. And, they're committed and their athletes go up there and I think do what they're supposed to do. They go to class.
There's nothing else to do.
Right. They go to class and they work all day. So it's an amazing story that he won a national championship and they retired his number over the weekend.
So we had 2 numbers retired because Don Kessinger got his number retired in Oxford, too.
Don Kessinger, Chicago Cubs. Heck of a player for Ole Miss. And then, of course, was able to come back and be the head coach.
Got to be a pretty surreal moment to watch your number go up there when you think about being there as a student,
Grandson started at shortstop for 3 years.
Gray.
Yeah.
Now in the Brewers organization or the Astros? Astros, maybe.
Okay. The Stros. Man. The Stros. All right. Out of bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. Want to welcome you in. Say good morning. The show is brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Go to favrates.com. Favrates.com. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. That number is 601-707-3750 if you'd like to weigh in today. We'll have Tom Luganbill on the show. Lugs will drop by at 8:30. One of the best when it comes to SEC football. He has evaluated these guys at the high school level and the college level. He can weigh in on the draft and what could happen this weekend and where will Jamar Chase out of LSU go, Elijah Moore out of Ole Miss, Kyle Pitts out of Florida, Devontae Smith out of Bama, and some other Mac Jones out of Alabama. Where will Mac Jones and Justin Fields land? They're the two blue blood QBs that if you follow the NFL draft over the last 20 years, for the most part, it doesn't translate because you don't have to carry your team on Saturday. And those QBs that have to carry their teams and elevate their teams on Saturday have much more success than the guys out of Southern Cal, Texas, Ohio State, Bama, among other programs. Now, there are some outliers. Carson Palmer out of Southern Cal. Matthew Stafford out of Georgia. And Joe Burrow looks like he could be a really good NFL QB.
He's played like 9 games, though.
Right.
Is the thing.
And that was a devastating injury. We expect him to come back, and hopefully he does. And Burrow could have a really good NFL career. Things look good. We'll see what Cincinnati does on the offensive line for Burrow, by the way.
I always go back to, does Oklahoma count? Because that's the one that I go, I wonder if they're like, if we consider Oklahoma a blue blood, then they, I guess, have the best chance to have either Kyler Murray or Baker Mayfield kind of break that mold as well.
Yeah, because Sam Bradford didn't do it.
No, I wouldn't put Sam Bradford in the discussion.
And I don't think Baker Mayfield, the Browns picked up his contract deal over the weekend. And then Kyler's good, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But yes, I do consider Oklahoma a blue blood, to answer your question. They're a top 10 program.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
So that's your other, I guess, when you look at what Clemson is doing at the quarterback position, what Oklahoma is trying to do at the quarterback position, and now Alabama, I mean, you're seeing a concerted effort by blue blood programs to actually make their quarterbacks viable as playmakers.
Yes. Tom Luganbill on the Modelo guest line at 8:30 today. Good morning. Welcome in. Who's going to be the backup quarterback in Oxford? Me? You? We know they have the best quarterback in the Southeastern Conference, and that's great. But if Corral takes a shot to the hip and has to miss a quarter and a half of a game, do you have a guy who can win it for you? And is that guy John Rice Plumlee? It is. So how will Kiffin and Levy do that in August? Will he split reps between quarterback and slot receiver or wide receiver? That's going to be interesting. The show is brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home and save with your Farm Bureau Insurance agent and go to favrates.com to get a quote 4 minutes or less.